I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but sometimes life takes unexpected turns that lead to the most meaningful moments. My name is Alex, and I've always been the practical one among my friends, focused on my career as a graphic designer, cautious about relationships, and generally keeping to myself. After a string of disappointing dates over the past year, I had pretty much resigned myself to being single for a while, focusing instead on my work and my small circle of close friends. That's when Jamie entered my life, or rather, re-entered it. Jamie and I had known each other for about 8 months, having met through a mutual friend at a local art exhibition. He was everything I wasn't: outgoing, spontaneous, the kind of person who lights up a room just by walking into it. With his warm brown eyes, contagious laugh, and the way he genuinely listened when people spoke, it was hard not to be drawn to him. We'd become friends, the kind who texted occasionally and met up in group settings. But there was always something there, a tension neither of us acknowledged. I'd catch him looking at me sometimes, but I convinced myself it was nothing. After all, Jamie had never officially come out to our friend group, though there had been hints and moments that made me wonder. Our friendship continued in this comfortable, if somewhat ambiguous space, until one Tuesday evening when my phone lit up with a message from him. "Hey, can I call you? Need to ask a favor." Curious, I agreed, and minutes later we were talking. His voice sounded different, nervous, which was unusual for typically confident Jamie. "So, my family's having this big barbecue this weekend," he began. "It's kind of a big deal. My grandparents' 50th anniversary, cousins coming from out of state, the whole 9 yards." He paused, and I could practically hear him gathering his courage. "The thing is, I've been telling them for months that I'm seeing someone. A guy. And now they're expecting me to bring him." My heart did a strange little flip. "You want me to pretend to be your boyfriend?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual even as my mind raced with implications. Was this Jamie's way of coming out? Why me? What did this mean for our friendship? "I know it's a lot to ask," he rushed on, "but you're the only one I trust with this. My family can be overwhelming, but they're good people. I need someone there who knows the real me when I finally tell them the whole truth about who I am." How could I say no? Despite all my practical instincts telling me this was a recipe for emotional disaster, I agreed. "What's the worst that could happen?" I joked, trying to lighten the mood. Jamie's relief was palpable, even through the phone. "You're a lifesaver, Alex. I'll text you the details. And hey, thank you. This means more than you know." After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone, wondering what I'd just gotten myself into. Playing boyfriend to someone I might actually have feelings for? This was either going to be the beginning of something wonderful or the most awkward experience of my life. The days leading up to the barbecue were filled with text messages as Jamie and I constructed our relationship history. We decided to keep it simple and close to the truth. We met through friends, started dating 3 months ago, and we're taking things slow. Jamie sent me a crash course on his family members. His mom, Ellen, who would ask invasive questions but mean well. His dad, Robert, who was quiet but observant. His younger sister, Mia, who knew the truth and would be our ally. And various aunts, uncles, and cousins who would all have opinions about Jamie's first boyfriend they'd meet. Let me explain why this mattered so much to Jamie. His family was tight-knit, the kind that gathered for every holiday and celebrated each other's achievements with genuine enthusiasm. Coming out to them had been a gradual process, with some members more immediately accepting than others. His grandparents, whose anniversary was being celebrated, had been surprisingly supportive, though they'd never actually met anyone Jamie had dated. This barbecue wasn't just about maintaining a white lie about having a boyfriend. It was about Jamie fully embracing his identity with the people he loved most. By Saturday morning, my nerves were at an all-time high. I changed outfits 3 times, settling on a blue button-down that a previous date had once told me broad out my eyes, and dark jeans. Jamie picked me up at noon, looking unfairly handsome in a simple white t-shirt and khakis. "Ready for this?" he asked with a smile that didn't quite hide his own nervousness. "As I'll ever be," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The drive to his parents' suburban home took about 40 minutes, time we spent reviewing our story and Jamie telling me more about what to expect. "Just be yourself," he said finally, as we turned onto a tree-lined street of well-kept homes. "That's why I asked you, you know. Because you're you." I didn't have time to analyze what that meant before we were pulling into a driveway already lined with cars. The sounds of laughter and conversation drifted from the backyard, along with the unmistakable smell of a grill in action. Jamie took a deep breath, then reached over and squeezed my hand. "Here we go," he said, and the warmth of his palm against mine sent a jolt through my entire body. The backyard was a picture-perfect scene of suburban family life. Strings of lights were hung across the patio even though it was daytime. A long table was covered with a checkered cloth and loaded with side dishes, and about 20 people of various ages were scattered around, talking and laughing. A man who could only be Jamie's father was manning the grill, while a woman with Jamie's same warm smile was directing younger family members and setting up more chairs. "Jamie's here," someone called out, and suddenly all eyes were on us. Jamie's hand found the small of my back, guiding me forward. "Everyone," he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quieter yard. "This is Alex." The next few minutes were a blur of introductions. Jamie's mother enveloped me in a hug that smelled like floral perfume and homemade potato salad. "We've heard so much about you," she said, holding me at arm's length to look me over. "All good things, I hope," I replied with a smile, falling into the role more easily than I'd expected. Jamie's father was indeed quiet, offering a firm handshake and a nod. "Good to meet you, son," he said, before turning back to his grill. His sister Mia, a college sophomore with Jamie's eyes and a knowing smirk, whispered, "Thank you for doing this," when she hugged me. Aunts, uncles, cousins, they all greeted me with varying degrees of curiosity and warmth. Jamie's hand rarely left mine or my back, and each touch felt like a small electric current. The most touching moment of those initial introductions came when Jamie led me to an elderly couple seated in places of honor under a shaded portion of the patio. "Grandma, Grandpa, this is Alex," he said, and there was a slight tremor in his voice. His grandmother took my hand between both of hers. "So you're the one who's been making our Jamie so happy," she said, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "It's about time he brought someone special home." Jamie's grandfather, a tall man who had clearly passed his bill down to his grandson, stood to shake my hand. "Welcome to the family, young man," he said simply, and I felt Jamie's grip on my shoulder tighten. As the afternoon progressed, I found myself settling into the role of Jamie's boyfriend with surprising ease. We filled our plates with burgers, grilled vegetables, and at least 3 different kinds of potato salad, each made by a different relative who insisted theirs was the best. Jamie kept me close, our shoulders touching as we sat side by side at the long table. When his cousin asked how we met, I let Jamie tell the story, watching his face animate as he described our first conversation about the merits of abstract expressionism versus realism. "Alex argued with me for 20 minutes straight," he said, grinning at me. That's when I knew he was special. The questions came, as Jamie had warned they would. His aunt wanted to know what my parents did, both teachers, retired now. His uncle asked about my job, nodding approvingly when I described my work as a graphic designer. Jamie's mother asked if I had siblings, one sister, older, and if I was close with my family. Yes, though they lived in another state. Through it all, Jamie and I moved in a kind of dance, building on each other's responses, creating a relationship that felt increasingly real with each passing hour. There were moments when I almost forgot we were pretending, like when Jamie's hand found mine under the table as his father made a slightly off-color joke, giving it a squeeze that felt like solidarity. Or when he leaned in to whisper commentary about family dynamics in my ear, his breath warm against my skin. Or when his grandmother asked him to help in the kitchen, and he said, "Alex makes amazing cocktails, Grandma. You should let him show you his specialty," seamlessly integrating me into family tasks as if I truly belonged there. The most surreal part was how natural it all felt. I'd always been somewhat reserved in relationships, taking time to warm up to new people. But here, playing the role of Jamie's boyfriend, I found myself laughing more freely, speaking more openly, and feeling more connected than I had in years. Was it the freedom of playing a part? Or was it something about being with Jamie, specifically, that brought this side out of me? As the afternoon turned to evening, more lights were turned on, and someone started playing music from a portable speaker. Jamie's parents cleared a small area for dancing, and his grandparents were the first on the floor, moving with the practiced ease of a couple who had spent 50 years learning each other's rhythms. Other couples joined them, aunts and uncles, cousins and their partners. Jamie watched them all with a soft expression I couldn't quite read. "Should we join them?" I asked quietly, surprising myself with the offer. Jamie turned to me, his eyes reflecting the string lights above us. "Are you sure?" he asked, and I nodded, standing and offering my hand. As we moved to the makeshift dance floor, I felt several pairs of eyes on us, but for once, I didn't mind the attention. Jamie's hand was warm on my waist, mine on his shoulder, our free hands clasped together. We weren't the most graceful dancers, but we found our rhythm, swaying to a slow song that spoke of enduring love. "Thank you for today," Jamie said softly, his eyes never leaving mine. "I know this was a lot to ask." "It's been nice, actually," I admitted. "Your family is great. I can see why this was important to you." Something shifted in Jamie's expression then, a vulnerability I hadn't seen before. "It's not just about them," he said. I've wanted to bring you here for a while. Just not like this." Before I could process what he meant, the music faded, and Jamie's father called for everyone's attention. He stood near his parents, champagne glass in hand, ready to make a toast to their 50 years together. As he spoke about love, commitment, and family, I felt Jamie's arm slip around my waist, drawing me closer to his side. His father's words washed over us, about finding the person who makes you the best version of yourself, about the courage it takes to love someone completely. "To 50 years, Jamie's father concluded, raising his glass. "And to new beginnings," he added, his gaze briefly landing on Jamie and me. Everyone raised their glasses, a chorus of cheers ringing out across the yard. As people clinked glasses and took sips of champagne, I turned to Jamie to do the same, and found him looking at me with an expression of such open longing that it took my breath away. Time seemed to slow down. The chatter of the family, the clinking of glasses, the soft music that had started playing again, it all faded to background noise as Jamie leaned in, hesitating just inches from my face. "Can I?" he whispered, and I nodded, unable to form words. His lips met mine, soft and tentative at first, then with growing confidence as I responded. My free hand found its way to his cheek, holding him close as the kiss deepened into something that could never be mistaken for pretend. A sudden eruption of applause and cheers broke us apart. Jamie's family was watching us, glasses raised, smiles wide. His mother was wiping away a tear, his father nodding with approval, his sister giving us an exaggerated thumbs up. Jamie's arm tightened around me, and he pressed his forehead to mine for a moment before turning to his family with a laugh that sounded both embarrassed and genuinely happy. "Sorry," he said to the crowd. "Got carried away." "Don't apologize for love, sweetheart," his grandmother called out, causing another round of laughter and cheers. Jamie looked back at me, a question in his eyes that I couldn't fully interpret. Was he apologizing to me? Checking if I was okay? Wondering if I'd felt what he had? The party continued, but something had fundamentally changed. Jamie and I moved through the rest of the evening in a state of heightened awareness of each other. His touches lingered longer, my responses more natural. When his cousin asked how serious we were, Jamie looked at me before answering. "We're figuring it out," and the honesty in his voice made my heart race. As the night wound down and people began to leave, Jamie's mother pulled me aside while Jamie was helping his father break down the tables. "I haven't seen my son this happy in a very long time," she said, her eyes serious despite her smile. "Whatever you're doing, please keep doing it." I didn't know how to respond. To tell her it was all pretend seemed impossible now. After that kiss, after the way Jamie had looked at me all evening. The drive back to my apartment was quieter than the drive to the barbecue had been. A tension hung in the air, not unpleasant but charged with unspoken questions. When Jamie pulled up outside my building, he turned off the engine but made no move to get out. We sat in silence for a moment, streetlights casting shadows across his face. "So," he finally said, turning to face me. "That wasn't exactly how I planned today would go." I laughed softly. "Which part?" "The kissing you in front of my entire family part," he admitted with a small smile. "Though I can't say I regret it." My heart hammered in my chest. "I don't regret it either," I said quietly. Jamie took a deep breath. "Alex, I need to be honest with you. I didn't just ask you to pretend to be my boyfriend because you're a good friend. I asked because I've wanted it to be real for months now. I just didn't know how to tell you." The confession hung between us, transforming the air in the car. I thought about all the moments over the past 8 months, the lingering glances, the texts that seemed to come just when I was thinking about him, the way he always seemed to find me in a crowded room. "Why didn't you just ask me out for real?" I asked. Jamie ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I now recognized as nervousness. "Because you're important to me. As a friend." I didn't want to risk that if you didn't feel the same way. And then this family thing came up, and I don't know what I thought, that maybe if we pretended, I'd get it out of my system, or that I'd be able to tell if you might feel something too. He laughed at himself. Not my most mature plan, I admit. I reached across the console and took his hand. For what it's worth, I don't think I was just pretending today either. The hope that bloomed on Jamie's face was worth every moment of confusion and uncertainty that had led us here. So what now, he asked. Now, I said, feeling braver than I had in years. You could kiss me again. Without an audience this time. And he did. This kiss was different from the one at the barbecue. Slower, deeper, with no performance aspect to it at all. Just two people who had been circling each other for months, finally acknowledging what had been building between them. When we finally pulled apart, Jamie's smile was dazzling even in the dim light of the car. Would you like to come up? I asked, surprising myself with my boldness. Jamie nodded, but then hesitated. I want to, but I also want to do this right. How about dinner tomorrow night? A real date, just the two of us. The consideration in his suggestion only made me more certain about my feelings. I'd like that, I said. Though I should warn you, your family has set a pretty high bar for our first official date. Jamie laughed, bringing my hand to his lips for a quick kiss. I think we can manage to create our own memories, he said. After all, we already have a pretty good start on our real relationship story. As I watched him drive away after one more lingering kiss goodnight, I couldn't help but think about the strange path that had led us here. What had started as a favor, pretending to be someone's boyfriend for a family barbecue, had somehow turned into the beginning of something genuine and promising. Sometimes, I reflected as I climbed the stairs to my apartment, the roles we play reveal truths about ourselves we weren't ready to face otherwise. The next morning, I woke to a text from Jamie. My grandmother called to tell me she approves of you. Apparently, you make a very handsome couple with her grandson. Dinner tonight at 7? I'll pick you up. Attached was a photo someone had taken at the barbecue. Jamie and me, dancing close, looking at each other with expressions that couldn't be faked. Looking at it now, I wondered how I hadn't realized sooner what was happening between us. Our first real date was nothing like the family barbecue, just a quiet dinner at a restaurant downtown, talking for hours about everything and nothing. But when Jamie reached across the table to take my hand, the feeling was exactly the same as it had been in front of his family. Right? Natural, like something falling into place. Sometimes the most unexpected requests lead to the most beautiful beginnings. And sometimes, pretending to be in love is the first step to realizing you already are. Total _char_count, 18,512.